Thank you, thank you. God, it feels good to be in here. Thanks so much. And you know, I'm no President Obama, so I'm not going to sing to you, but you know, when you stand with me, I stand with you. And that's what you all have done, and that's what I'll continue to do. Mr. President, I think the last time we saw each other, we may have been in a television studio. Yeah. That's right. Always fighting the good fight. And so it's all, and I always know when I see you and I see CWA, I see friends, and that we stand together. And so thank you very much. And as Jimmy was there recounting all the history, I was like, oh, we don't look backwards, we look forward, right? Because we are together. And we have so many huge fights. Yesterday, actually, I was at an event, and I ran into one of the chief executives of Verizon. And I mentioned, well, hold on a second. Verizon, of course, Verizon is a large employer in the 4th Congressional District up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and I know that. And I reminded my new friend of a letter that I joined in with some of my colleagues. Actually, I sent a letter independently to urge them to stay at the table, to negotiate fairly, and to bargain with CWA. And so, thank you. And so what you have from me is not just somebody, and I'm happy to sit at any table with anyone at any time, but I will never, ever, ever back off of what is right and what is fair and what is right for workers. Those are the kind of fights we're in, and that's why we stand together. Now, I also know we are in a really challenging economic time. You all know that much better than I do. But it also means that we have to double down in fighting for work that is fair, fighting for working conditions that make sense for workers, fighting for workplaces that don't take advantage of workers. We have to double down on those fights precisely because we're in this strained economic environment. But it does mean that when we stand together and when we fight together, when we win some of those fights together, and we will win some of those fights together, that it's a big win for workers and it's a big win for the American people. That's what happens when we stand together. And I'm a testament to that, because in the fall, when this other guy announced that he was going to run against me, when my district lines were redrawn in such a way that they were not recognizable anymore, it was organized labor that stood up first, that stood up solidly. CWA was right there for me, and I think the result of that is what happens whenever we have our fights and our progressives join together with organized labor, with community organizations, with workers, and with the people. You can't break that. And that's the lesson that I continue to learn. It's the lesson that we learn together. And 2012 is going to be all about those lessons. Now, you can argue that in 2012, we could spend a lot of time saying we should have done this and we should have done that and so should have been with us and then they weren't with us on this thing. We can do those things, but we also have to keep our eyes on what that real prize is. And what I see is that the real prize is protecting our workforce, protecting our environment, making sure that we have Social Security that can match the pensions that we have as well, making sure that we protect workers who have health care benefits, that we don't tax those benefits because they've earned them and they deserve them. Those are the kind of fights where the lines are drawn for us. We have to make sure that in the face of, I mean, can you believe this environment where the people who are at the top, I don't care whether it's 1 or 2%, I don't even know those people. I mean, I got to know some of them because, you know, I got to go and ask them for mine. Bob Edgar knows all about that, got to ask for money to run campaigns and that sort of thing. But that's not where I come from, and it's not where most of the people in this room come from. We come from families and communities where the importance of getting up every day and going to work was instilled in us. We come from families and neighborhoods and communities in which people had to work really hard to buy that first home. And then we got people who want us to protect their second and third and fourth homes. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, can they live in all of those homes? We come from families and communities where we're struggling to send our kids to college because all of us, no matter who we are, want our children to do better than we did, just like our parents wanted us to do better than they did. And the reality is that with the protections for all of those who are at the top 1 or 2%, that it's shutting off the opportunity for our children to do better than we did. And we're just not going to stand for that anymore. And I know that that's what CWA stands for. I know that's what organized labor stands for. And when I go out into every single one of the communities that I represent, people say to me, please stand with us because we want to make sure that our children can do better than we did. And they want to stay in their homes, and they don't want to lose their homes. They want to work for fair wages. They want their communities to be safe. These are just kind of basic, ordinary things. And I mean, you know what? I know how much gas costs. You know why? Because I had to go get gas. And so I understand what it means to fill up a tank. And I know that every single week it feels like it takes a little bit more to fill up that tank. But I still got to go the same distance back and forth to work. I know that for those families that are out there that are struggling to pay for daycare, not because they all want to, we're not just putting our children in daycare just because we feel like it. We're doing it because we have to go to work. And when I see families struggling in the kind of way that our families are struggling, I just say, you know what, we've got to really straighten this ship out. And the way to straighten this ship out, in my view, and I'll join with all of us in the corner in another ballroom and make it larger. But in my view, the way that we have to straighten out this ship is we have to restore the gavel to Democrats in the House, to give the gavel to people who actually know what to do with the gavel. I know that we have to make certain that we re-elect President Barack Obama because the alternative is simply not acceptable for this country. I know that all across this country, people are waking up saying, and you know what, I'm 53 years old. And so, when people start talking about, well, we'll draw the line at 55 to figure out whether or not, you're going to have Social Security, I go, wait a second. Because that could be about me. And so, okay, fine, it's selfish, but I want to protect Social Security because it is a safety net for so many families all across this country. And when you ask me about Medicare, I go around and I talk to their seniors, and sure, did they get, a little bit of increase in their Medicare benefits? Yeah, but it didn't match the increase in their prescription drugs that they had to pay for. Right? And so we know these things because we get up every single day and we go to work and we take care of our families and we live in our communities. That's what 98% of us do, and it's time for this country to start working for the 98 and the 99%. It's really time. Now, my staff is so great, and they prepare all this binder full of stuff. I hate to even waste the paper, but, God bless them. But what I have to say from my heart, because I feel it from our communities, and I feel our struggle, and I know that we have to have people who are in elective office at every single level, in the United States Congress, in our state legislatures, in our governor's offices, and in the White House, who really understand that struggle and who are willing to fight with it. Not to fight with you, but to fight alongside you. And that's what I'm prepared to do. I know that that's what we're prepared to do in the Congress. I know that that's what I'm prepared to do to make sure that we regain the House of Representatives, because it will make a difference to you and to your families. Now, this next week, we're probably going to mark up a transportation infrastructure bill. And we could either make a decision in this country that we're going to invest in and rebuild all of our infrastructure that's falling apart. And the people in this room know better than just anyone else how much our infrastructure is falling apart, how much we need to invest in our infrastructure. And that includes everything. It includes making sure that every community, not just communities who can afford it, but every community has access to broadband. It means making certain It means making certain that in every single community that you can get to it the easiest way, and that our transit systems are working so that we protect our air and our environment, and we can get to and from work without sitting in traffic all day long, so we can get home and go to a PTA meeting. We understand that those are the fights for the American people. But you know what? This crowd that's in charge now, they know we need to rebuild our infrastructure. And you know what they want to do? They want to take our infrastructure bill that we know we have to pass, the investment that we know that we need to make in order to create real jobs in this country, because we understand that when you invest $1 billion in infrastructure, you do create 35,000 jobs all across the economy in every single sector. That's what we have to do to rebuild this country. And these folks, you know what? All they're interested in is obliterating the Environmental Protection Agency through the Transportation Infrastructure Bill. What are they interested in? They're interested in obliterating worker protections through the Transportation and Infrastructure Bill. They don't want to see project labor agreements, not this place, not any place. And they're trying to use our major infrastructure bill in order to decimate American workers. And we're just not going to go quietly while they do that. Now, some people have said to me, you know, Donna, you can be a little, chatty. My mother likes to call it chatty. And you know what I say? If I'm going to sit in Congress, our job in Congress is not just to take up space. Our job is not just to dust off the seats. Our job is to make sure that we're doing right by the American public, that we're doing right by workers, that we're doing right by our communities. And so we have an obligation to stand up for you, because it's what we're supposed to do. And you're going to hold our feet to the fire. You're going to hold my feet to the fire in the 4th Congressional District and in every single congressional district across this country. And we are not going to allow the American worker to be completely decimated while a very few people just walk away with they even want the crumbs. They don't even want us to have the crumbs. They don't even want us to have the crumbs, and we're simply not going to tolerate that anymore. And so I want to say to you, Mr. President, and to all of you out there, I am with you. I am with you 100%, not just me, but other members of Congress. And I know that my colleague Raul Grijalva was supposed to be here, but he's on a plane someplace trying to get to Washington. But he would say the same thing. And so as progressives and as working people, we are going to continue this fight, and we're going to be joined just like this. And we know that as workers, they try to separate you, don't you? Don't you know that? They say, well, the public sector workers over here, and federal workers are over here, and private sector workers are over there. And what do they think, that we were born yesterday? We weren't born yesterday. We're not going to allow ourselves to be separated like that for the big fights for the American people. And I know that you feel that way too. And so I just want to thank you so much. And you know what? Today I'm wearing red because I wanted to celebrate you. Today I'm wearing red because I'm one of you. And to my good friends who work for Verizon, don't hesitate to call me, okay? Don't hesitate to call me. And to all of our friends all across this country, we really can regain this country for the American people, for the American worker, for our future generations. We can do that, and the way that we do it is we do it together. Thank you so much, and God bless you.